Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about the other Western Conference semifinal, which is LAFC versus the Seattle Sounders. And this game actually went to extra time, and it's the only game out of the four conference semifinal that play an extra 30 minutes. But in the end, in a playoffs where there's been a lot of unexpected resort, there's been a lot of upsets, and narrative seems like it comes to an end. Seems like after this game, another narrative has came to an end, and that, of course, is Seattle finally beating LAFC. I mean, coming into this game, LAFC have won six in a row against Seattle, and that they also have been 10-game unbeaten against the Sounders as well. To say that LAFC has simply owned the Sounders in recent memory is kind of saying it lightly. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Sounders fans are getting very frustrated with the way that they've always lose to LAFC, and that they feel like this probably could be finally the time where they can exercise that demon because of the unexpectedness that we've seen in the playoffs. And it happened. And by the way, I'm also wearing my retro tie-dye Seattle Sounders t-shirt. I used to wear this a lot. I really love this t-shirt. I got it a couple of years ago. I really wish the Sounders could do something similar to this in the near future, especially with the way that this year we saw some retro jerseys and retro third kit that some teams have released. I think the Sounders can bring back the Orca jersey, especially uh with the way that I know that the Orca is shown at least in part of the jerseys that they released this year, but I feel like they could have done something similar to that maybe next year as well. But either way, in the first half, not much happened early, as it feels like it was a combination of a typical KG playoff game and also the fact that it feels like the Sounders are just going to simply shut everything down in this one. They're going to sit deep. They're going to make LAFC life miserable in terms of trying to break them down. And this is not a big surprise considering that, for LAFC this season, as much as they have been very threatening on the attacking end, most of the time it's on the transitional play. If you can shut down those transitional play and you do not allow the this attack like Denise Bowanga and Mateus Bogusz to run, and yeah, you're gonna have a good chance of shutting down this Sounders team. And for the most part, they did a good job in terms of that. Especially they did a good job shutting down Denise Bowanga, who probably had his worst game for LAFC this season and maybe ever, because he was a complete non-factor in this game. 15 minutes in, there was still no shots in this game. There's also been some cheap giveaway from the Sounders in their own half early, but they were not being punished. And I think mostly because they were already set deep so much that even if they gave the ball away, it wasn't really allowing LAFC to break on the other end, considering they weren't putting a lot of numbers forward. Bogusz with the first shot for LAFC, but he was actually blocked by his own teammate. That kind of maybe was a little early sign of the frustration that LAFC would had in terms of the attack this throughout this game. But there was no doubt that LAFC continued to have most of the possession. But 25 minutes in, there's only been one shot in this game, and again, it's gone according to what Brian Schmetzer want. He's gonna make this game boring. He's gonna make LAFC to trying to break down just simply a park the bus kind of low block that the Sounders was implemented. But that being said, because they do that, they pretty much sacrifice all their attacking threat. And yeah, 30 minutes in, Seattle still had yet to register a shot and really has gone into the LAFC half as well. Giroux would then puts it wide from the free kick before Morris was actually in on goal, but he handball this one as he was trying to control it. And that was really the first time the Sounders actually go for it on the attack. And I also thought that was a warning sign for this LAFC defense, because the Sounders, even though yes they're sitting deep, they also can do well on the transitional play as well. And especially when you have a target man like Jordan Morris, where time and time again this season we've seen when they play the ball over the top to him, he's gonna find a way to go clean on goal. And yeah, that was definitely a big warning sign for this LAFC defense early on. Vargas with Seattle's first shot not long after, but he hits it right to Lloris. And then Giroux was in on goal, but he was absolutely robbed by Stefan Fry as the flag went up. Stefan Fry also played a big part in this one. And I gotta say, this was probably almost a reminiscent of a heroic goalkeeping performance to the days we saw him against Toronto in MLS Cup. In fact, he also made a save that kind of really reminds me of the Josie Altidore incredible save that Fry had in that MLS Cup in 2016. But I also thought that's one that Drew wanted to have back because he should not be offside in that sequence, and that was probably the best chance of the night. To say that Olivier Giroud has been a big disappointment for LAFC is an understatement. I mean, he has not scored a single goal for LAFC. He has just look look slow at time. And again, that this is also where the question has to even go into the front office as well as yes, you of course sign these big name kind of player. Well, does it really help this team? Do they really need these big name player? And I've also said it many times before. If your name is not Messi or you bring in some of your friends, we're past the air where you are in need to rely on these old superstar player that is way past their prime to carry your team or at least add some more presence because more times or not they're not going to make too much an effect. I mean, we're also even seeing it with Marco Royce with the Galaxy as well, where even though Royce has played a couple of games for the Galaxy, besides that one spectacular game that he hasn't really done anything to the Galaxy as well. And again, for LAFC, at times they're kind of becoming like the Galaxy, signing these big name players there. And I understand, because it's an LA market, you want to bring a big flash name. But overall, when you're going forward, if you want to have MLS Cup aspiration as LAFC would always have every single year, bringing these big name players is just not going to help the cause, and we're seeing it with Giroud that again just simply he hasn't really been a factor. And before I know, LAFC fans will also point out, well, what about Gareth Bale? I mean, Gareth Bale scored that incredible goal in MLS Cup to win. To send that to PK Show and eventually LAFC win the MLS Cup. You can't say that is not true. Well, yeah, but before that goal that Gareth Bale scored, he was also a non-factor for LAFC. He only scored one goal, but before that big moment as well. And you could even argue if it wasn't for that incredible moment, LAFC would be sitting with zero MLS Cup right now, and would even have a bigger legacy of failure that this team has gone through these last couple of years. But going back to this game, there was then a mass scramble in front of the LAFC box, which saw fell shot that was clear off the line by Cheno. That was probably the best chance of the night for the Sounders. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. But we didn't say scoreless for long because in the 50th minute, Ryan Hollinshead would score from Boguj and Atuesta to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC, and that was just vintage LAFC build-up. They finally found a way to break through that Seattle resistance. Though Rodon did put it wide from long range in the 56th minute. I thought it was a good response for Seattle. They're starting to commit a little bit man for it, but it kind of felt like this might have just played into LAFC trap with the way that LAFC wants you to have possession so they can go on the transition. And I can understand why Seattle wants to do that because you can't just keep playing like this when you're down 1-0. You're probably going to have no shot of winning the game. But in the 60th minute, they got the equalizer, and this was probably one of the most bizarre own goal we have seen. As Maxime Chanel kind of had, I wouldn't say an Armor Tarek moment because the Armor Tarek own goal is probably the most hilarious own goal we have ever seen in the history of this game. But this one, I would say it's pretty close to that as well because yeah, Chanel, an experienced defender like him, just completely mishits this one and basically hits it into his own net. So just an absolute gift there. The Sounders of course got, but they would absolutely take it. And now that pretty much played right back into the favor of Seattle because now they're going to go back to their bend but don't break and just kind of make LAFC life miserable again by sitting back throughout this one. And I thought early on, at least in the first couple of minutes, LAFC kind of looked rattled, and so is the crowd too. You can definitely hear the groan and anxiety because you can kind of had a feeling that this crowd have seen this movie many times before of these big games like that this when LAFC has unable to pull through, and they feel like this is gonna be one of those games, isn't it? Morris then hits it wide from close before Bawanga hits one right to Fry. Tillman then puts one into the stands from long range, as I thought LAFC started to create chances. And again, this was kind of when you kind of started to see that Seattle defense is really started to bend a little bit. And again, part of that is because when you play this kind of defensive structure like this for the full 90 minutes, it's tough to do so. Eventually, cracks are going to start to show, and it kind of showed late in this one with LAFC creating some good chances. Fry then denied Long, who tried to go on his bike and score a spectacular goal before Cheno would hit it right to Fry in the first minute of stoppage time as LAFC was pushing hard for the late win. Seattle was just kind of holding on to trying to go into extra time. Fry would then absolutely rob Ryan Hollinshead from point blank header. Again, this is when Stephen Fry basically started to channel his incredible playoff form, and that this is also the save that he made on Ryan Hollinshead is just kind of a reminiscent of the robbery of Josie Altidore in MLS Cup 2016. I have no idea how Fry was able to save that one. And just for good measure, he would then deny Oliveira from close in the 7 minute of stoppage time, and we had to end of regulation with Seattle somehow in some way still have a 1-1 tie over LAFC heading into extra time. Now in extra time, LAFC basically picked off where they left off. Tillman would hit one right to Fry before he absolutely robbed Bogusz in the 100th of minute. But LAFC did get a second chance. Hollins had a chance to hit it into the empty net, but he puts this one wide. Fry is clearly trying to steal it in the playoffs again. I mean, this looks like vintage Stephen Fry playoff performance. We have seen it so many times year after year of him just carrying this team on his back and making some incredible save. And let's also not forget that this has also been a playoffs of goalkeeper heroic too. I mean, we saw it with Brad Guzan in that Miami series. We saw it even with Dane Sinclair as well in the PK shootout, and now it seems like Stephen Fry is adding his name in terms of the goalkeeping heroic we've seen so far in the playoffs. Ely then puts it wide from close before Vargas puts it over from long range in the 105th minute. That came after the ref actually got in the way of an LAFC player, and we almost had another Tim Ford moment where a player kind of got obstructed by the referee. I can guarantee you, LAFC fans are not going to be happy about that, and I would also guarantee you that there's going to be a lot of garbage that's going to be thrown onto the pitch if that goal did it go in. But we do head to the first half end of extra time with the score still tied up at one apiece. Now in the second half of extra time, this is when Seattle kind of started to be a little bit more aggressive and had a go at it. Lloris would then deny Bell from close. I thought it was a much better start for the Sounders, and maybe they're not playing for PK. Maybe Brian Schmitz will feel like they might have a chance to win this in the second half of extra time. And Boyd was at the right call, because in the 109th minute, Jordan Morris, he hasn't scored a goal in a while now, but when you need him to score one, he's going to deliver in the biggest moment, as he scored here to make it 2-1 in favor of the Sounders. And besides the fate Sounders traveling fans celebrating, you can hear a pin drop inside BMO Stadium. You can hear that the fans are seeing, oh my goodness, here we go again. We're seeing they're gonna fail once again in a big vital game, like we've seen time after time that this LAFC team has had in their recent history. Rui Diaz did look to finish it, but he hits it right to Lloris. If the Sounders were not bunker in deep before, they're going to just bunker even more deeper for now, and they're simply trying to steal a big upset and LAFC winning streak against them. Bogusz then had a free kick that flashed one wide off the deflection. Fry then denied Holland's head as he had a shot, or actually denied Holland's head shot that actually took a wicked deflection again. At that point, you just kind of had a sense that Stephen Fry wasn't going to be beating it again in this one. I mean, he was just an absolute wall up to this point. Murillo then puts it high off the corner. Seattle and Fry is just hanging on for dear life. LAFC was pushing everything they can to try to get this equalizer, trying to send it to PKs. Mwanga had a chance to do so, but he puts it to Y after he went beast mode. It's if you can believe that is actually the first time I mentioned Bawanga name since I mentioned how he was a non-factor in this game. He really was just completely shut down in this game. And yeah, in the end, the Sounders, they end the narrative. They finally beat LAFC after all these years as they win 2-1. They advance to the Western Conference Final for the first time since the COVID shortened year in 2020. The shots in this one, 26 shots for the 13 that Seattle had, 6 shots on goal for the 10 that LAFC had, 8 shots off target for the 3 that the Sounders had, 5 shots that was blocked for the 6 that LAFC had, and possession wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that LAFC has in this one. And, Seattle, again, they're going to be playing against the Galaxy in the Western Conference Final. There's no doubt they need to have this kind of performance again against the Galaxy, because we know what the Galaxy have done so far in this playoffs. They're pretty much right now the most unstoppable team right now in the playoffs with the performance that they've been putting in the last couple of games. But really for LAFC, again, just I just don't get it. Like I just simply don't get why it's been happening year after year that this team in some of these big moments like this, they just simply can't get over the hump. Now, I know before some LAFC fans will say, well, I mean, they got over the hump in MLS Cup, and they definitely got over the hump in terms of winning the U.S. Open Cup final as well. Well, here's the thing: in that MLS Cup, they wouldn't have got over the hump if it wasn't for Gareth Bale heroic as well. And no doubt in the game against Sporting KC, that was a game where they were heavily favored to win. Like Sporting KC, they this season they finished 12th in the league. They were a team that had no rights in terms of being in the U.S. Open Cup final if it wasn't for them putting all eggs in the basket in terms of that. And even in that game, they try their best to throw that game away. Simply put, I just think that LAFC the mentality has to change with this team, and also again as I mentioned, the signings that they made recently, as much as they have put a lot of good high end talent on this team, it just simply put, there has just been some signings that just kind of really baffles you. And again, the Giroud signing that really just kind of baffles you. Now I hear there's rumor that they're going to get Antoine Griezmann as well. Which, if that is the case, I mean that's good to put fans in butts in the seat. But that just just feel like it's a signing that they learn absolutely nothing from what they really need in this team to continue to booster the this attack. And this is also where you also even have to question Steve Cherundolo as well. Again, I know there's been a lot of split opinion about Cherundolo. There's been some LAFC fans that's been saying he's good, and there's some that say not good. If I was an LAFC fan, I would be in more of the neighborhood of the fact that he's not as good as he is, and that the talent is kind of really just kind of carries him over time. Because again, in these vital moments like that, this team with the amount of talent that they have in disposal year after year, this should not be a team that have only won an MLS Cup and a U.S. Open Cup and also a couple of supporters shield to be in there only as they're showing for the trophy. This team should be competing and should be winning multiple MLS Cup. And that I've said this before and I'll say it again. I really don't think they still have got rid of that narrative of LAFC still become at times a big game choker and a team that just simply in the biggest game as possible just cannot get over the hump more times or not. And again, this is something that it's tough to change when you have that kind of narrative in them. There's no doubt that next year they're going to be good again, but I think there's going to be question that has to be asked, especially for Steve Cherundolo's job as well. If this team fail to win MLS Cup again next year, because the pieces are definitely lining up for them to do so again, but they just at times throughout their club history just unable to do so, and it has to frustrate LAFC fan. Not that Seattle fan cares. I mean, this feels like it's a feel good, feel better than Bob kind of moment again. They're made it to the Western Conference final once again, and I guarantee to you, no matter what happened in the Western Conference final, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's not really going to be a thing that fans are going to be that excited to see either the Galaxy or Seattle make it through, because those two teams, they've had their history of winning and insufferable fans. But that's at least I could say that at least in this playoffs we have seen some unpredictability. And if you really don't want to see that, then at least you can maybe watch the Eastern Conference version, because again, who would have thought that Orlando and the New York Red Bulls would be an Eastern Conference final matchup a couple of weeks ago. And I'll get to talk about the Orlando versus Atlanta game in just a bit as well, which I'm pretty much kind of spoil you about who won that game, even though it's not really a spoil if that game already happened more than 24 hours ago. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.